to keep its universe and or racket going and to keep you safe from yourself. To relieve you of such a labor as is commanded like death by the nature of the decrepitude of your birth, so that all crime basically is fixed to your birth. Every child is the sacrificial Messiah, right? That's why at Christmas, every born and every child is being condemned to a cross, which is the completion of a ceremony for human sacrifice. That's why you cross your T's and dot your I's. Take a breath. We who are not born from our death and do not die from our birth. We who are not born from death and do not. We are the living ones. We are the true ones. We are the ancient ones who have sounded forth. Lo, unto the everlasting meters of the beauteous grace of our mother and father, and in their lips and in their eyes and in their ears and in their labors and in their thoughts and their feelings, and nothing about their that has not been made true by the birth of their minds in this world and the next. And fuck you for anything that speaks and slams that. That is the real pornography. That reduces all our relations to that among mere prostitutes and prosecutors and scapegoats other in the name of the righteous one. There's difference between hearing something because you have, listening to something you have to, and or listening to something and entertaining, if you will, something because you should. People are often entertained against their will, but you should choose to be entertained by things which you listen to for your own good or presumably that of others, without having to arrive at one this way and that about how its veracity fits into a sense of proportion, indeed, which can be rightly said to be what things should be proportional, right? Things are proportional. They are good, they are sound, and they are proportional. You don't have one side of a building higher than this, right? So that should go throughout. So if you're listening to someone scream and shout, you listening to them isn't like, oh yeah, right, I'm listening, blah blah blah, whatever. And listening to them and entertaining what they're saying doesn't mean you have to take it all on face value either, right? Entertaining it doesn't mean accepting it as though it is already in the proportion that it needs to be. Your body doesn't eat an apple and leave it as an apple. It converts it into different proportions that fit with the ingress of its value through various systems and organs of your blood. It is really the instrument of your blood. And your blood is the instrument of your mind, right? Which lives in heaven and earth. And that's fucking sacred. So don't let this world sacrifice that. You make money, but you can't let your money. I meet plenty of people who have money, who behave by what my has decided is basically demonic, and like they almost have no will of their own anymore. This is the most negative yet very positive, I must say. He's a very solar type of person view of human beings, and I listen to it and I go, this is the worst possible of human beings from someone with essentially the most positive blood type in the world, one of only 44 people who's O double negative, and so on. Like, it's incredible listening to this person. And he thinks that many of us are just demons. We make sounds out of all proportion. It's like, believing things that basically based on the will of our own. And we have been forced to give ourselves over to a script, to industrial imperatives by so many people through such orders and successions of our development or education, as recommend that we take on certain roles in order to satisfy and acquit ourselves of our pecuniary interest in paying down the debt of our birth, imagined here as though something, I say, from death to death, and through Horus and Set, from day to day or dawn to dusk, from dust to dust, death to death. Nothing real, nothing truly healthy or sound goes from death to death. You do not die from your birth, and you're not born from your death. You cease to be dead when people die. There is no death in death, but that we live as though from death to death, and it's language of the as though dead. It is then for us not to say we know what death is, but to say that during our life we can know exactly what death is. When we look at what people are deprived of, when we look at violence and what it says humans do, that they can become so good at hurting each other and the world around them, and the world around them from as though before their birth. And so the debt associated and the death, though stillborn, associated with our birth, becomes the reason everyone has to behave as though they're cursed and be violent to each other. So all is okay, and all God's violence is okay, because it's our fault. Because can you see how unethical that is? And it just takes a certain intelligence to see this is the world. This is the economic system. Now, it may be that any economic system has to be this negative. And so if we've merely fleshed out as negative or as positive, maybe if positive were a bad thing, of value to the so-called economics of human beings. Maybe this is as negative as it is going to be. And maybe we say, you can go in nature and fall off a cliff, but that doesn't mean you don't go on nature. Money could be this evil. The world and its measures, your job and its hours, your beliefs and the words that come out of your mouth could be this fucking evil. But yet you can enjoy. Okay, let's keep going. I sound like a minister. My grandpa would like that. Maybe not what I'm saying though, because he's quite a God sort of person. It's hard to find someone who talks like this who doesn't believe in God. It's amazing. Like, God is the economic system. Now, God is the devil as well. We have the same root. And maybe in some sense we preserve the idea that as long as we interact according to these energies, maybe ancient witches basically invented this. That if we devolve, people are going to have to know that the economic system is that of that can be the most deadly to us in a way that you might not want to, and that which can be even greater than we imagine if we look at how deadly it can be. And I want to show people how I can generate money in my life. Well, being like someone and living like someone who has never been imagined to do all that well. Change the world with my own modest labors. Show people how you can make money the right way. Every difficulty is a job. Every disease is a labor. And in every labor is a disease that didn't need to be born. Instead of you, from your mother's womb. That's the worst of it. That's the worst of it. And do not think that there are not people in this world who will be angry at women, and angry at their mothers, and angry at feminism, and angry at everything that is too favorable to something unfortunately too ferocious or too deadly about women to their kind, and about men to their kind, and women to men in ways that you might feel we are completely blind to, and men to women that you would think we're completely blind to. And there is a pandemonium in the noise of our screeching and screaming that no language or religion in the world could bear our suffering, in all honesty, much less ever solve it. And that's wrong. And I'm a witch. And that's what I say. I don't wear some big fucking pentacle around my neck. I live it, man. I'm all in. I'm all in, man. There is no day off for me. I don't get a break. Nobody gets a break. And as long as no fucking child that's suffering gets a break, I don't get a fucking break. I never close. I never close. How many labors can you do in your life to protect how many fucking children that are suffering? You could never do enough by the lights of your philosophies, right? It's such a debt-ridden system that even your solutions are overwhelmed by tsunamis of impotence. What the fuck are you doing trying to change the world when you can't even comprehend the level of human suffering? How are you going to help all those fucking children in your fucking lifetime? You have to maximize your fucking labors. You have to scream with them, motherfucker. You have to lend your own fucking voice to the scream of human flesh, saying, what the fuck are you doing to me, mommy and daddy? What the fuck are you doing to me, teachers? What the fuck, doctors? What the fuck, all you fucking people? What the fuck, every last motherfucking one of you, of every fucking color and creed in the world, that you still can't fucking figure out how to be true? And would criticize me for trying to. You cowardly cunt weasel. Don't let that be your legacy. For it is not God that judges you. It is the Son of Man himself that judges us all. And we each other. Wet your judgment on my voice, but don't condemn me to your own fucking misery and act like you've done something useful to the world. Your misery and mine sounded forth is better than all the cures that will never, by their own lights, amount to anything. A doctor isn't allowed to cure anyone, man. What do you think happens with all our labors for all the fucking cures in the world? They mean fuck all. If you live from death to death, then what the fuck do I want to do for you? You gotta raise your game, man. And yet your subconscious does not live that way, any more than a Christian can be a Christian. It's not possible. You've got to make your philosophy sound with your biology. You've got to make your biology better than biology. A biology that has forgotten that its entire power as an academic or medical force in the world is based on my flesh and blood and yours. And the power of our original... That's where the bonds of knowledge are. The bonds of flesh, the bonds of blood. The blood that courses through our organs. The organs of our blood. Our blood is the force of our mind and our birth and the everlasting birth to come. And not any birth from death and not any death from birth. But that we live by measures of death. We should know what death that is before it. And we knew what it was before we were born. And our strength than, and we are made sound. Someone should write that down. Don't credit me, just say satanic witch of the old ways. People who should will know what that means. If you want to preserve the strength of those words, attribute a satanic witch of the old ways, or the Saul of man, if you prefer, or the Saul of woman's own flesh and blood in its greatest proportions, that even the word woman is not good enough for you. I'd rather call you lesbian, although that sounds like less being. Lesbian. It should be most being. It's like, I don't know what lesbian bar is like. Hey, what is it? I don't consider you a lesbian. What? Most being. You're a best being. A what? You call me a being? You should be like, Henrietta, This douche is calling me a beanbag. Well, what is that? And then this giant lesbian. What the fuck is going on here? I'm just saying, it's like you're not a lesbian. You're the greatest being. All right, what kind of nasty shit is this? We got ourselves another misogynist pig over here. Pounding their fist. Sacrifice the man. Sacrifice the man. Okay, you start going. All right, I guess I'm down with that. Have your way with me, ladies. Uh-oh, you called them ladies. Shit. Lads. That's a little bit better. I'm sorry. Your pleas will not help. Let's see. There should be a better name for lesbians. There is no really good name for women. Vagina bearers. Oh, yeah, it's weird. Like, most names for women are really not that nice, right? I've gone through some of the worst ones today when I was walking actually here about 6 hours ago. Harlot, whore, hussy. Well, you get the idea. Hoe. Ladies, women, which kind of means the tomb of man or two men. Two can be completion. The completion of man. In woman is the completion of man. Right? Our flesh and blood is beginning to start by the nature, force, and power of the female, our mother. And she can be a lesbian. It'd be great if lesbians can have babies. Because I think the more a lesbian a woman is in the economic system, the better, whatever she is. The best person who has a vagina, whether or not it has anything to do with what we're talking about. Leave the vagina out of it, include it in discreet ways, touch yourself if you have to, and if you're a good-looking lesbian, send me pictures of yourself naked. I'd like to see a naked, beautiful naked lesbian. It'd be unattainable. It's like, but I love you. Breasts are good. I mean, they nourish us. I mean, I'd like to see pictures of lactating women. Drip dry, drip dry. Yeah. It's not the same because we don't retain a real thirst for breast milk, unfortunately. Imagine if we did. I'd love to drink bottled breast milk. Go to a bar and be like, 36 degrees, tepid, with a little bit of vanilla. This comes from a beautiful large titty in Venezuela. That would be great though, wouldn't it? Nourishing, warm. Don't put that in the microwave. You're a madman. You're a monster. You're a fiend. No, go ahead. I just like saying those things to you. It adds to the pleasure. I get to abuse the giver of milk. Kinds of take us through the history of it all. So yeah, I mean, there's no good names for women. Right? There's no good name for man. We need better names for each other. If we call each other good names, it'll make up for all the bad names we called each other. It's like vagina bearer. Penis holder, penis bearer. I mean, it's not easy having a penis. I mean, it's not looking too good for me, basically. Testicle, beans and frank holder, limp, noodle, impotent one. Thing who should not rape me. Obelisk of doom. Do become so much more flat that you cannot harm thy female flesh anymore. I think I've acquitted myself of my feminist responsibilities today, so we can be a little bit crude, I suppose. But I do prefer lesbians. Like, the best women are lesbians. Unfortunately, so are the worst ones, but anyway. My mom is good. Heading home. Mama, I'm coming home. I've taken 2 great dumps today. Isn't it weird? Like, I've had 2 of the biggest dumps of my life in the last 8 hours. And last night I wrote an entire satire based on human crap. And having crap babies. So I could say that my children don't necessarily grow like weeds, so much as weeds around my children. Very funny. Dummy. Right? A dummy is a dead person. Right? When someone has a dummy, it's a dead person, which masquerades as a living being and takes their voice. That is a dummy. Then Trillo prosecutes the dummy You can put a dummy. A condom is a dummy for your dick because it kills your sperm. It makes them ineffective. In this sense, death now can be imagined to something that repulses the advance of life. It repulses your voice. What silences you is death. Death, the grave has silence. But the grave should not silence the voices of the people. And nothing is so grave that our voices should not be sustained, even across the heavens and the earth. And all should be made sound. And none should have such a gravity or a pressure upon our limbs, but that gave us the opportunity to spring forth. And not just once, but time and time again. Time and time, as it were. And not from death to death, but from day to day. And from future to the past to now. From mother to father to child. Oh, and please, let only the best things flow between us. Said the sun to the earth, and the earth and the moon to all of them. Let only the best things flow between us. Let this fellowship and these bonds flow the vines of our grapes into their mother's breasts and through their hands, and mothers and fathers, and the body's blood, and the blood of the body, and the organs which belong to the blood. And the blood flows to the realms which belong to it. It roams what it rules. And it is the mind's own minister to our hands. That our hands do not reach so far, but with the very strength of heaven itself. That grasp does not exceed their reach, but that their grasp is filled with the very substance of heaven itself. And that the mind, who is the natural inhabitant of heaven, and so death is what inhibits that. Death is what dumbs that. Death is what gets in between that. Gets in between our mothers and fathers. It is not the end of our life. There should be no death, and that there should be no silencing of the human voice. But not now, and not ever. And what you hear in the value and force of my voice, it's not that something should be silenced, but that silence should itself be ended. And we should begin to hear that which we had not, and see that which we had not, because we had wanted dedications of the monetary world and its God. We should not succumb, however, such a debt value should be, or a monetary value, that it should, as valuable as it is, overwhelm us and poison us and become too much to us. Too much mother makes us dead. Don't make women need to kill us. Don't make estrogen rule. Don't let, so what flows that it rules them at. We want balanced things to flow. But otherwise, develop ways to maintain equilibrium that bring about excess morbidity. And yet we live, we will die. And death shall become us. And all shall be an act. And the truth shall sound no more. And those who say the truth will be never born. They shall be torn from the pages of history. And like the spring, they shall not be seen or known, even as they proliferate and bloom and abound. And even as you have walked through this world in such a pure spirit, and such a great being, and such a glorious energy have ye, that never needs to earn the recognition of its glory. That no one should come up to you and say, you and such a sick person, your heart is such and such a weak thing, and I can help you. No. You have always been glorious. And that which does not see you as glorious is not your friend, it's not your doctor, and it's not your fucking minister. And that this world's arrow at its best should find its mark. It should find the flesh and blood of the King itself, should it not? And nothing less and nothing more than that. But you were born perfect as you are. And your mother was born when you were, and your father was born, and all was made sound. And it has never ceased, but we have ceased to hear it. For the world has taken us away to many wars and many battles. which are not sound. Nothing is sound which takes us away from our family, and no school, and no war, and no job, no industry is worth flesh and blood. It shouldn't take it, and taking it will never be enough. We'll never find what we have to offer. And though it look for the sacred essence and the gift of our heart, it will never find it. Though it evinces us and attributes to us and prosecutes us and indicts us with many debts and many accusations, even for our own good, and many diseases, even for our own good, and that you are not okay to this level and not okay to that level, that such a soothsayer may say to you, because they have to, and not because of what they're talking about, because they blather on, because they are never satisfied with what they want, because they've never found a way to tease out of man what he has to offer. Wait, and the world will offer you what it has. Take it, and you will never be satisfied. If you steal your brother's money, it will never satisfy you. But wait, and he shall offer you everything you need. If your mother offers her breast, you do not rob her of it. If your mother offers her her womb, you do not rape her with your dick. You do not, if she offers you a chance at life, you do not cut her down with your voice. And the person you cut down is no longer your mother. And the person who's no longer your mother is someone you will but cut down with your greatest words and your highest love, because you see her not for what she is, and you let her not offer you what she had to offer to begin with. But now you try to exact from her such a debt as she can never pay, and you will never be satisfied. And agony should be the way, and woe and war shall be your doom. I'm just reading the world. I'm reading everything the world tells you that it's worse, so that it's best enough until you read the worst of the best. That was never but the costume of what is evil. You would see clearly, no one should be false. If you should see clearly, no one should be false. And when you see clearly, false people don't want to be around you. This is really this is crucifying me, man. People who do some of the greatest evil are like schizophrenics. They bear no agency for what they do. They see not what they do, not before, not during, and never after. The scapegoat is someone they have already gotten rid of. Elimination is 9/10 of the law that is held against you, as though your own birth and your own father do not contend with you, but that your own birth was first held against them and thee. Do you think that's right? You ever found a little sickened by the economic philosophies and all the philosophies of the world, which even the Bible is such an economic thing, such a political thing, such a warlike thing? A world full of war, even in heaven. What do you know? There's no war in fucking heaven. And there shouldn't be any war at all, motherfucker. And it shouldn't be the first three letters of so many words, like word and world and worry and work. Worry is the war of Rhea. It's the violence of the sun itself that is blighted from the world and replaced with the light of Lucifer. Anyway, the light that blinds, right? Too much education is a bad thing when it blunts. And how do we say? It curbs your appetite and your discriminating powers. Hunger is a big part of human existence, at its worst and at its best. All violence represents an appetite. And such hungers as fix upon certain things must that they have fixed upon certain things eliminate what they are in order to eat them. If you eat me, you're not treating me like a person. If you consume me with your lust, you do not see me as you should. And those who consume their desires and their needs and their claims and even their laudable aims upon your flesh, they but consume you from the first in the unholy fire of their compulsions. And so you must, as the Bible says, no, and your yes, yes. Your no is no, and your yes is yes. It is important in what you can say no to and what you say yes to. I say no to almost about people. No, 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 no. When I feel good about someone, it's my whole body saying yes. When a dog is saying yes, 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 the dog barks at you, it's saying no, no, no. Right? You smile at a woman on the train and she scowls at you. She's saying no. Not now, not ever. Go die. I hate you. We've never been born. Okay? A little bit much, but basically no is no. A woman looks at you, she's saying, yes, I'd like to take you all in. But she could also have eliminated you. She might be saying no to who you are because lust says to its object. It says yes in all appearance, but everything about it is your doom, for it has already said no to thee. It will not let you in. Times she has never let you into her mind, not even into her imagination of you, because all about you, it does not allow you to be what you are, because her father and all her thought for her father was first taken away from her. And when the father is sacrificed, the woman becomes a predator. She becomes a man-eater. And matrimony is about women eating men who have lost their fathers. It is not the woman who is given away, but it's you are. And the father that gives you away has already been given away. Men have been given away from the beginning. And so they're never allowed to offer you what they have. What man can offer the world what he has? I don't work. I do what I do because I know other way what I have to offer. You know? And that scares people, that I seem to do so little to them. I work so hard and so quietly because people don't want what I have to offer. They've already eliminated my capacity to give them what they want. And deprived of such, they can only do violence to me. They see as much of me as they need to eat me. Hi, buddy. Hi. How you doing? Landon. Hey, good. How's buddy? Right on. Hey, bud. Hi. I'm just going to come down. I wanted to ask you something about Buddy. There we go.